Hi, I'm Reggie Turner. I'm here with Jim Miller and Terrence Moore. The FlipSide starts right now. Welcome to the show. Tonight we are going to get back into our election coverage, starting or resuming our talks in regards to our county commissioner race. And just to recap, the last time we were having this conversation, gentlemen, we only got through 4 candidates. We got through Mr. John Barr, Victoria Beachley, Terrence Noses Torrey, Mr. Ron Bowers, and Bob Brucci. But next on our list of 17 candidates, we have Charlie Burkett, who is incoming or incumbent. I believe he was appointed.
He was appointed.
He was appointed.
Yes.
Jim, what say you?
So, you know, I don't know a lot about Charlie, and I'm anxious to find out more about him. The reality is I was not a fan of the whole tax, the property tax. We're going to raise it, we're going to lower it, we're going to lower it, we're going to raise it. I thought we looked like idiots there as a community, not him independently necessarily, but I think the community looked like they couldn't decide how much money they needed, and yeah, it wasn't good. And I felt like he had a part in that.
He was a swing vote, right?
Yeah, he had a part in it. I'll say it that way.
Right.
You know, since that point, I would say I have seen largely smooth sailing, but I'm going to find out more before I say yay or nay on Mr. Burkett. But I am interested in finding out more. He's been in this community a while, long time, I think, yeah, we're some investigation. I'm hoping that these candidates, and one of the things, I don't know about the two of you, but one of the things that I'm going to have a problem with tonight, some of these candidates have nothing out there about themselves. They're registered to run for the highest office our county has to offer, and they are not doing anything on Facebook. They're not doing things on websites. I don't know how they're getting their message out, but yeah, that's a problem in my view. They have yard signs, but I don't know about, and again, I don't know about you, but I don't vote based on yard signs. I don't vote based solely on whether you have a D or an R behind your name. I want the person that's going to be the best for the job.
And I think that's the rarity. I think that's what we kind of talked about when we
So you're saying I'm the rarity, or are you saying that
you're the rarity?
I don't think I am. But
I believe you are. I believe, unfortunately, politics and campaigning have become popularity contests. Yeah. It's stick with my side, whether I'm R or D, right? or vote the name I see the most,
right?
Or vote with the person who I'm closer and friend with, right? I have a good relationship with, especially in local elections. So, and as far as Burkett, again, like you said, he was right now he's sitting in the seat. He was appointed, and that's trended well thus far. We've seen everyone who's been in that position over the last couple of years have found themselves winning the first election.
And is that because they've got name recognition now, or is that because they go out and put their message out there?
I think it's about name recognition.
I'll give you a perfect example, and some in our community will remember this name. John Munson. Mm-hmm. There is a legendary politician in Washington County who did, in my opinion at least, a lot for this county, and his name was Don Munson. He was in the Senate for the state of Maryland for many, many years. And then he was, when he decided not to do that anymore, he was in city council for a while.
Yes.
Amazing guy. John Munson, rest his soul, I think rode to victory as a county commissioner largely because people didn't know the difference. And I have no factual proof to support that theory, but I got to tell you, the Herald Mail editorial staff, they were at no shortage of things to write when John Munson was in office as county commissioner, because it was comedy at its saddest, frankly.
I know we drifted away on talking about Burkett because it'll be interesting to see, you know, other than that dust up that when he first came in, because that big vote was there, you know, as soon as he basically came into office.
Right.
I'm with you, it's been pretty quiet. But jumping back to your point about yard signs, I do remember during the last election cycle when Trump lost, there was a lot of people that were upset because it was like, well, you drove around here and you didn't see Biden signs. Like all you saw were Trump signs. And you know, for me, it was like, well, our county doesn't reflect the country. You know, people are looking here. I'm sure if you went to PG County or Montgomery County or even Frederick, right, you saw something different than what you saw here. But people do pay attention to yard signs.
They should be banned. First of all, it's just ridiculous, right? I think if you want to know who you're voting for, I think this is where accountability comes in, right? Go see who the candidates are. Use your local media to make sure that the candidates are getting their message out, that there are debates, that there are the proper forums, that there's education tools and resources to educate people on how to vote and who they should be voting for. Placing signs, and they're eyesore. I'm telling you right, they're an eyesore, and they're going to be up for the next, what, almost 180, 200 days that are going to be up in our community. Yeah. And they're huge, and they're an eyesore in every abandoned lot that we have around here, which just draws attention to our abandoned lots that we have out here as well.
And some politicians like Neil Perry don't take theirs down.
It's true.
Again, I don't think I
had to change it this year.
I see the benefit from a candidate standpoint because it's catering to, you know, this is where I get elected. But going back to Burkett, he on his page he says his values are about faith, family, hardworking, honesty, integrity, and respect. Hard to find somebody whose values aren't that, right?
Well, if you're running for office, you right. At least purport to have it about that.
Absolutely. His vision: lower taxes, smaller government, safer communities, strong and safe education support, more white-collar jobs.
That's a standard Republican message.
Yeah, I don't, Republican or Democrat message, you know, to the point, right? You know, like.
The Democrats not going to say lower taxes.
They're not going to say it, but everybody enjoys lower taxes, right?
No,
but I get it. I understand that, but I'm just saying that goes back to the point that we don't know much. Right now, it's just the taglines. It's the trigger words that, like you said, lower taxes. Oh, I want lower taxes. That's
smaller government.
Smaller government. That's where I want to vote. And not just Burkett. I'm using him as an example because I think this goes across a lot of candidates right now. We really aren't far enough into really hearing some substance. And what my biggest question will be to every candidate is how.
Jim, I have a question for you. When it comes to a local election, what does smaller government mean to you? From a federal government, I think that's easy to answer. But sometimes I think we use these catchwords that trickle down from national politics locally. Like, what does smaller government mean to you locally?
Well, I think that it means that we set policies that are needed. For example, zoning. I know there's a big fight, and we'll talk about a comment from one of the commissioner candidates about that. There's a big fight about this convenience store, truck stop, whatever you want to call it in Williamsport. You know, smaller government means if I buy a piece of property and it's zoned to allow me to do something, then
you're going to do it.
I'm going to do it.
Right.
If there's a zoning exception that needs to be had, which I think this is the case, then we have the public hearings or whatever it is that we do in that process. Yeah. But that's an example. Smaller government means that when I go to build a house, I am up to the current electrical codes, but I'm not held hostage by the county or a city government to meet expectations or some crazy thing that I shouldn't have to meet. Same thing at the city.
Do you think city and county are two different animals here? Do you think that either one of those are issues locally?
Yes, I do. I absolutely do. I think that building permits has long been the so-called redheaded stepchild of Washington County, and it's been an issue in the city of Hagerstown too.
Wouldn't it be easier if politicians would speak directly to the issues as opposed to these broad?
Oh, it absolutely would, and I think some do. I will give John Barr credit on that. John Barr has talked about those problems. John Barr has tried to address those problems, and he's gotten some things done, but there's a lot to be done there.
Got it. Our next candidate is our incumbent president that has been serving since 2010. 12 years, Mr. Jeff Klein.
Yeah. He's going to get back in my mind.
Well, listen, Jeff has moved to the new age seamlessly. There is not a selfie that he will not take or miss.
That's right.
He's everywhere.
But you know what? He's everywhere. And if we believe the theory that the world is run by those who show up, that's why he wins.
Right. He shows
I don't
up.
disagree with Jeff, or I don't agree with Jeff Klein on everything that he says, but I don't care what the event is. If I show up and it's a community event, there's a better than average chance that he's going to be there, and he's going to be there talking to people about what matters to him and what matters to them in this county. And whether you agree with him or disagree with them, that's been a recipe for success.
I'm looking at Mr. Moore out of the corner of my eye. Mr. Moore.
No, I agree. You know, first of all, Jeff, no problems with the selfie here. You know, I'm a fellow selfie lover. I know. Being present and showing up is half the battle, right? You can't make change if you don't hear the people and if you don't know what's going on. And whether it's an award ceremony or whether it's a gathering of an issue in the community, you got to show up. You got to be present when you can.
Yeah.
So I'll give him that as well. And not saying again, I haven't agreed with everything from these county commissioners, and you know, Jeff being the incumbent president as well as being a representative more of the body. But I have been able to stop at any time Jeff has showed up to those places to have a conversation with him.
Right.
And that's the first step.
Yep.
You know, no matter who you are, no matter how many differences we have, and there's been times where we've been completely on the opposite end of the spectrum of some things right now, and there was conflict, and it never stopped him or I from walking up and having a conversation,
right,
whether about the issue or whether being cordial about something else. That speaks a lot to me personally, because I want my elected officials to understand that they do not sit on a pedestal above me, but they are supposed to be sitting there to represent us, to, you know, with our best interests at hand, no matter what my background is, no matter what the issue is, no matter what my politics is, but be able to at least have a conversation and be willing to explain the decisions that they make.
Yeah, I'll say this about Jeff. I agree with what you both have said. You know, I remember specifically there was an issue that was happening in the community that I had significant concerns about, and I reached out to Jeff not knowing his personal circumstances. And this is when his father was in hospice. But Jeff picked up the phone, and we had a conversation. But if he wouldn't have picked up the phone, I would have understood, right?
And Jeff returns your call, by the way.
Yeah, he does.
If I call him, I guarantee you.
Yeah.
And in fact, I called him from a number that he wouldn't know, because it was my Skype or Teams number, not intentionally, but I just happened to be there and I needed to talk to him. And he still returned my call, and it was a New York number.
Yeah.
So that tells me he wants to be involved.
Yeah. So I respect him for that, because he'll be in the fray. He won't duck those things.
Now there are some people that are going to have irreconcilable differences, and that's going to lead them away from Jeff, as it should.
Right. Right.
Should it? Right. Again, that's what the world is about, differences. That's where our problem is. As soon as we have a difference with somebody or issue with someone, we have to drag it on for 10, 12, or 13 years.
And
demonize that person. Yeah. And no, it's okay to disagree.
It is okay to disagree, but my point is, if you two are running for county commissioner, and I agree with 80% of what he says, and I agree with 50% of what you say, right? Then I'm going to vote for him.
Absolutely.
That's my point. It's not about demonization.
Right. No, I'm just saying, just in general, that that's the one thing about campaigning. Like, it's the relationship.
Yep.
You know, and maybe relationships far before you decided to run for candidacy.
Right.
And people carrying that because they don't like you, instead of knowing that you may be the best person to do the job. So I just wanted to point that out, that it's okay to have differences.
It is.
Agreed. Next candidate, this candidate I do not know anything about. Mr. David W. Ebersol. He's a Republican from here in Washington County, all right, in Hagerstown. Jim, you got any background on this candidate?
So let me tell you my process here, and it was an intentional process. If you look at the Maryland.gov elections website, where they have a list of all the registered candidates.
And it'll say if they have a website or not.
That's my point. It'll say if they have a website. It'll say if they have a Facebook address. Didn't notice any other social media type things, but definitely Facebook and website. So that's the first place I go. to see if I can find out something. The second thing I do is I spend 1 minute, 60 seconds, and I do a Google search and look at the results and see if I can find them. And then I go into Facebook and I do a search on the name and see if I can find anything there. I found absolutely nothing on David Ebersol. Not saying he doesn't have one, just saying that if he does, it is well hidden.
Got it.
So I don't know what I think about him. I'm welcome to hear his story, but he's got to get out there and tell it.
Terrence.
I agree. This is the wrong time. Remember, we got the primaries right around the corner here.
Right.
It was a shortened window.
Yep.
You know, this is not like I could sit back and kind of coast
And
until.
primaries are next month.
Yep.
And we're saying we don't know anything about this client, this
Right.
candidate, and can't find anything about this candidate.
That's what I'm saying. That's especially it being a Republican.
Yeah, exactly.
Because 5 Republicans go through, 5 Democrats go through, and there's not even 5 Democrats, I believe. So you're in the tightest race right now during the primaries.
Yeah.
And you have a ton of, and all the incumbents are Republicans.
Yeah.
So either he said, you know what, it ain't worth it, or there's going to be a big boom that comes out later on. But I don't even think there's going to be enough time for
It's
forums.
too late for that.
It is.
Too late for
It
that.
is.
All right. Well, David, we need to know about you, or not. So we'll see. Next candidate, Mr. Derek Harvey. I don't know Mr. Harvey. He seems to have an extensive record. He was in the Trump administration. I did see one of his sponsor ads on social media that Newt Gingrich basically gave him an endorsement. I don't know what that means for a local Washington County race, but that's what I saw. Terrence, what say you?
Again, I think it's kind of like his name dropping. I don't know what I can do for you, but let me know who I know. Let me let you know who I know. Like that happens as well. Again, shorter window. I haven't heard anything.
But in a local race?
But again, that's big, right?
Well,
Is
I
it?
get.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Look what happens now. You saying that I stand with Trump. What does that mean? It's a local race, right? But it's about what you're tying your politics to. You don't have to say your politics, but you're saying their politics or my politics, because I'm not letting them endorse me, but I'm name dropping them to say that that's where I stand. And that's what I take from it. Unless you say otherwise, that's all I can take from that.
Jim.
Without disclosing my personal feelings about Donald Trump, which have changed significantly, especially after
I
he
think
left
anyone that
office.
watched the show has probably seen the transition or the evolving of your feelings.
I'm not sure that I would put that at the top of my curriculum vitae, which he did. The first thing on his webpage says, worked in the Trump White House. Okay, that and $1.50
But in
will get you a
Washington
Coke
County,
at Sheet's
though,
store.
In Washington County, that's not a problem. You're trying to win in Washington County.
And you're assuming that the majority of Washington County citizens are still on the Trump bandwagon, and I don't believe that's necessarily true.
Yeah, I think you're misinterpreting that one.
I love the tractor picture, though.
The tractor picture was good, yeah.
Was that with the family?
With the whole family standing
Yeah,
around
yeah.
the tractor. I want a
I
tractor.
like that.
So what
Also,
did,
now you want a tractor.
I'm just saying it looks.
what did impress me about him was that he oversaw $50 billion budgets for the U.S. intelligence agencies, and that he's a retired U.S. Army colonel.
Yes.
So that's what I would put at the top of my resume if I were he, not that I served in the Trump White House.
But we can't say that he created this narrative either. I mean, this is the Herald Mail we're looking at.
No, I'm looking at his webpage.
His webpage.
Oh, his webpage says that as
Yes,
well.
that's his webpage.
Gotcha.
And again, going back into the marketing, it's not, people won't read, they'll look at a picture, right? I'm saying these are the triggers. He's sitting on a tractor in the middle of a farm, right? That's, I support agriculture, I support this farmer, because who else would be just sitting on a tractor?
I support rural Washington County.
Right. You got the entire family standing around. That's values. This is that, a family. You got a baby. You got a son sitting on the back wheel. You got your daughter, your wife. The whole family around as you sit up front of this tractor. So I think that it's that wholesome feel that he's trying to get across. The red, white, and blue in his campaign logo with the star. That's I'm all American.
It's classic.
It's classic.
It's classic.
And that's. And that's the mindset when people make an assumption of Washington County. And I say all that to say that, right? It's the imagery that says that your hometown, your rural area, your about community, and I think that's what he's trying to get across here.
Yeah.
On his About page, he says, "I will fight to protect the history, values, and tradition that make our county a great place to call home." That is some incentive for me to look at him closer, because I don't think we should pave over Washington County. I don't want Washington County to become Montgomery County or Frederick County.
You don't want to be a suburb of.
No, I don't. That said, we need to grow.
Right.
So, again, the problem I have with most of these candidates is they don't talk about what their vision of perfect looks like. Is your vision of growth building 10 more Amazon warehouses? Because if so, that's not my vision.
I agree. I agree. And if it is, explain why. Talk about.
Tell me how that works.
Right. Talk about the economics. Talk about the job growth. Talk about how that's going to, expand our education, our health. Give me something. Give me a how. Give me a plan. At least for the 4 years that you're going to be in office. But just telling me what I want to hear, that's when I feel like it's more pandering than anything else. And again, I'm not just speaking about this candidate. I'm just saying in general, that's what you're hearing a lot of.
Well, and we know that big buildings often become empty big buildings, as evidenced by the thing we used to call Citicorp, that is now just 3 huge buildings, one of which apparently is sinking into the ground.
At least that was a data center. It wasn't pumping out hundreds of trucks and smog into our community every day.
No, I get that, but guess what it is today? An empty building.
I agree. But I'm just saying those are some of the key issues.
We can demolish empty buildings.
And then there'll be a landfill. Then we'll need to build a new landfill.
Demolishing stuff.
Yes, we do.
But that's another story. Next candidate, incumbent County Commissioner Wayne Kiefer. He withdrew his bid to run for District 1C. And he's from Hancock, and he is looking to serve us again. So let me start.
Please.
So 3 or 4 years ago, Mr. Kiefer was appointed for oversight of a newly formed diversity commission.
Mm-hmm.
We have heard high nor hair from that commission in 3 to 4 years. And I hate when we do things as a reaction to something that's happening in the community to pacify people, but then there's no accountability. Kiefer served on that with our now mayor. I believe that commission is probably disbanded. They weren't given a budget, and they accomplished nothing.
They were given a budget. I believe it was $1,000 a year.
Yeah.
So,
and the problem is when that commission was started in 2018, 2019.
Yeah.
And the problem is that when we started to go through a period of time of social unrest around the country, that commission should have been in position to do things to spur dialogue, conversation, and healing in our community, and it failed.
Go ahead.
I can't disagree with that. I went to every meeting for a year, right? And seeing the passion of people who were selected, but no direction and no support for them to do anything with that passion. Was that on Commissioner Kiefer? Maybe. Was he as active and present as he could have been? Absolutely not.
No.
But I think this is, and that's a microcosm of leadership, right?
Yes.
So what does that look on a larger scale? Is this a one-off? But again, it goes back to what have you done? What are you going to do? And I'm not hearing that. And even when you're incumbent, you have the task with explaining away all your mistakes. Somebody else another candidate doesn't have that, right? Because they haven't sat in office. So but at least start doing that. And I haven't heard any of that either.
I know nothing about the commission, so I can't base any comments that I might have on his ability or failure to execute on leading that commission. What I can tell you is that I I don't see the leadership qualities that I look for in someone who has the awesome responsibility to, and I know we're a small county, but we're a small county that spends a lot of money every year. And guess where that comes from? Yours, everyone in this county is footing that bill. And I just don't see it. I like Mr. Keysborough personally a lot. He's a very likable man. I feel like he lines up behind somebody and looks for protection. That's an opinion. That's not a fact. So I would be hard-pressed to vote for him.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what his campaign's about and what is he actually running on.
And that goes back again, right? So everything we're saying now is in anticipation of hearing something. But as you pointed out, we're weeks away from making some of those decisions. So
well, that kind of gives the incumbents the advantage, right? Because they can basically sit back and say, well, I've been in the seat.
And they have the built-in name recognition.
Right.
Whether that's a pro or con, depending on how you view them. Absolutely.
Next candidate we have here is Jamie Lawrence of Sharpsburg. I don't know this gentleman. I believe he's a videographer.
He is. Arguably a very good videographer.
Yeah, I've seen some of his work, and I've seen some of his antics. It's hard for me to take him serious.
Yeah.
From what I've seen.
Okay.
That's all I got.
I don't. This came out of the blue to me. I've never seen him engage in anything political, no advocacy, no engagement, other than being present with a camera. And as you said, very talented videographer, absolutely. But as far as his politics, as far as his relationships, as far as what he could bring to the table and contribute, never seen it, and haven't seen it to date since he's filed. Like, I seen his filing come up and then it kind of got quiet.
Yeah.
So I don't know, was this a statement or is this something that he's really trying to pursue? But
is this a spoof? I mean, because he does a lot of funny stuff.
Yeah. I would tell you my perspective is that if he puts half the amount of work into this that he did into learning how to do videos, I think he could be successful. Now, that said, I want to see what you want to see, which is what is he about? What does he stand for? What does success look like to him for Washington County, Maryland? I've not seen any of that yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I put half as much effort as into the stock market as I do into eating hamburgers, I'd be great as well. I'd be rich. So I think it's all, I just think that we all have our niche and we all have a path, right?
Right.
And it's not just about effort. It's not something just put
it's
that
not,
effort into.
But he is a smart guy.
No,
the limited interactions I've had, he's a pretty smart guy.
No, absolutely.
But I was too shocked to see his name appear on the ballot.
Right. I just don't think his effort is geared into that direction. I think he has a great artistic talent. I think he has great perspective, a great conversationalist, when it's directed correctly. But I just never seen him moving into politics. And he spent a lot of time actually making a lot of political campaign videos for people as well. So maybe he spent so much time behind the camera that he wants to get in front of it.
But the thing is that to this point, we haven't seen any marketing, anything in regards to platform.
Nothing.
It was just an announcement that he was running. That was pretty much it. But, let's take a break. But before, let me leave you with this. If I worked on my golf game as much as I did trying to understand the stock market, I could probably make the senior tour at some point when I get there.
You're mocking me now. That's what you're doing.
No, I'm just saying, we all.
He's mocking me, Terrence.
We all have things. We all have things, gentlemen.
That's true.
Right.
All right. Well, let's come back. We'll pause here and we'll come back and we'll go through the rest of the candidates. Stay with us. We'll have more in regards to our county commissioner candidates after the break. Welcome back to the show, everyone. We're jumping right back into our county commissioner candidates. Gentlemen, Valerie Oliver. Jim, I'm coming to you.
Again, very little information. I know the name. I know the person. I don't know what the platform is.
I don't think how many times we could say that. I agree. I I don't have any information. I don't know the individuals, their stance, their politics, or what they're running on.
I just think that puts them at a disadvantage. I don't know how you become one of the five when we're sitting here close to the middle of May and we don't know who you are.
And something let me point out as well, from going back to Jamie Lawrence as well as now with Valerie Oliver, these individuals filed before the original due date, all right? So they filed back early February, and it could be that
they changed their mind.
You change your mind. Look at Kiefer; he changed his mind and came back and
Right.
and ran in this seat. So I think that was a long time before we actually closed out for you to really sit back and go, you know what, do I really want to do this? Or to see some other names come into the field. Because I think a lot of times you run because you don't see anyone who truly represents you. And that's what you should be doing, right? That's your civic duty.
And then the names kept coming in.
Right, and you go, you know what, I'll rather, if I was gonna throw my name in the hat and run myself, but I'll stand behind this person because this person can represent me. So maybe that was the case. I'm not sure, but I just kind of look at some of these filing dates, but they went back almost 2 months.
Or they may have ran as a preemptive strike. They said, hey, we heard that Jim Miller and Terrence Moore were going to run as a ticket.
Right.
So maybe that was it.
Not likely.
What are you saying there, Terrence?
I'm not a campaigner. I can't do it. Not interested in it.
All right.
Next candidate we have here is Caden Snyder. Young man friended me on social media, so I see a little bit of his posts. He's a younger candidate. I see that he likes to troll candidates, and he likes to troll the county commissioners. I think he has some that he don't like, and he's very apt to go out and challenge them.
Yeah, so he friended me, or somehow I got on his friends list, and now, by the way, he's blocked me. Principally because last week at some point he had posted something basically suggesting that one of the people that does, in my view, more good for this county than probably 10 other families. He indicated that they have been, and this is the quote, terrorizing the community for many years. And I responded to it in what I thought was a respectful, but I knew he was young.
He was challenging his opinion.
I was challenging his opinion, and I suggested that I didn't think that was a good way to win elections. Well, number one, I pointed out, because this particular family has a foundation, and I pointed out what was available from their tax returns, the fact that they gave away $500,000 in this community in the year that we were looking at, and pointed some of the other things out, and pointed out that I didn't think that was a good way to win an election, and he blocked me. So, and I know that's the way of youth. We talked about that before the show. See no evil, hear no evil. Well, the new one is see no evil, hear no evil, win no elections. I don't think he's got a snowball's chance. I think maybe he's a very well-meaning young man. He could very well be. I like his smile. I like some of the positive things that he says, but I think he needs maturity, and I think he's at least 4 more years away for me to actually consider him a serious candidate.
Or 8.
Yeah.
I love when you reach and say, I like to smile.
Yeah.
I think looking at his Facebook page, what I do like, the trolling is borderline trolling to me, but having an active voice and challenging individuals who are elected officials, I'm all for that. It is done in the proper way. But
what is the proper way?
The proper way is not being malicious in doing so.
Yeah.
Like, if I don't like your values and I talk about your values, I don't need to talk about how ugly your sweater is. Like, and just using extremes, right? Like, I think sometimes we take shots to get attention, which takes away from the true message that we're trying to communicate.
And by the way, that message is lost in our attempt to get,
or being extremists, right? So even in that case, using the word terrorize, you got to explain that. That's a harsh word to attach to somebody who develops in a community. That's like, you can't just make these statements and share them with somebody, or even share them amongst your small group, and think it's okay and not understand the damage that you're doing, because also there's defamation there as well.
Yeah,
Not just to that individual, but to the community, right? That you're putting this out there, especially when people are looking to you as a candidate, because there's a certain level of responsibility that comes with you as an elected official as well. And if you're going to spread rumors and not validate information or really seek it out, you shouldn't be a candidate, or you shouldn't be an elected official. So maybe you should be in journalism. Right?
Yeah.
Maybe you should take a step back. If you really want to follow and hold people's feet to the fire, then do so. Step into journalism. Maybe not as a candidate, maybe not trolling on social media, and social media is maybe not the place to do it.
Well, journalism like that doesn't happen in this community.
Well,
so
it doesn't. Well, it doesn't happen in any community.
I don't know where he's going to go to be a journalist.
And here's the other thing. Here's the other thing that strikes me about the trolling. And there are others that on this list that troll.
Yes.
Yes.
There's at least one who doesn't miss an opportunity to say, "You're wrong."
Didn't we cover
What
him
he
already?
fails to say, what they fail to say, is here's how I would do it differently. Here's how I think we can achieve success in that
Right.
particular element. All they want to do is tear down. They don't have a plan.
Or how about before you try to push your opinion out there, how about you say, share more why you think that way?
That's
Well,
exactly
let
right.
me give you an example, gentlemen. I went to my Google machine and I went through and punched a few things in. And Mr. Snyder said on May 3rd, want ethical and transparent government. Then on July 19th, make your voice heard at the ballot. Unfortunately, 3 out of 5 current county commissioners are ethically challenged. Who are they, and why are they ethically challenged, and what makes you different?
Right.
Like, this is just these broad sweeping terms telling people to vote, but not about what or
No
for.
context.
No context.
Yep. Talk about cell phone coverage. I'm so tired of those commercials, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what that means. Every map looks different. You're just putting things out there and you're trying to trigger somebody to try to shotgun and find something that's going to make them want to read more.
And obviously, I mean, he does not have much of a social media following, so there's not a lot of people jumping into the fray on these things. I think he's just going to need some seasoning as a candidate.
Yeah, 8 years.
time. Yeah. Next, Michael Lynn Sprecher, the third of Hagerstown. I know nothing about this candidate.
No, nothing. I know his email address is 69 Barracuda, which I assume is a reference to a car, but I couldn't prove that either. Yeah, nothing.
Sidebar, has nothing to do with it. Candidates, it's free to get a Gmail account with a name. I tell this when I do interviewing and job. If you want a job, it's about professionalism, right? And 69 Barracuda. That may be appealing to you.
Oh, that's his email.
You know that, right? As 69 Barracuda 69, right? And again, I'm not picking specific on that, but it's easy to just get your name on your email account. It's going for a job. It's publicly known, especially if this is the only thing that people see or can connect with you. It should have a more professional appeal. I'm just saying, I don't know anything about the individual, so I don't know about their professionalism. That's just a small thing to take into consideration.
Well, we stretched that one out without knowing anything.
I'm just,
Yeah.
a little helpful tip.
I don't think we're going to be able to do the same on the next guy.
But I believe this candidate may have some lawn signs out, but I don't know anything about the candidate. The next candidate we have from Williamsport is Brian Tanner.
Yep. I know
You're a Williamsport
nothing.
resident.
Yeah, don't know anything.
Nothing. He hasn't knocked on your door yet?
Hasn't, no.
Okay. Mr. Moore.
Same thing. At least he has yard signs out, which means that there's an investment there to go at least go into the primaries. But as far as the politics and what they're running on, I have no idea. And also, this is just our opinion, people. Right? This is just what we know, our interactions, which may change before we go cast our ballots as well. And we just want to have this conversation because everyone should be having these same conversations at home. So don't be mad, no hate mail, don't block any of my grants. I'm just saying, great opportunity just to do the best work possible.
No disclaimer. I'm giving it to you straight, no chase. Next candidate up, incumbent county commissioner since 2018, Mr. Randy Jackson. No, Randy Wagner.
Yeah. Love him. I think he is.
He's been unscathed, would you say?
I think. Well, but you know what? But he's been unscathed, but not because he's afraid to address issues. He will jump in where he thinks it's appropriate for him to jump in. I have really enjoyed seeing him, and I'll tell you something. When I watch, on the rare occasion that I actually watch a full county commissioners meeting online, I'll be sitting there working on something else, and he'll say something that'll catch my attention, and I'm like, yeah, I agree with that. So I am a fan. I think he is a bright spot in our commissioner's race, and he is definitely on my short list.
Got it. Mr. Moore.
I agree. You know, I think sometimes it's best to have someone who's even keel, right? You know, not high highs, not low lows, but consistent where they're at.
Right.
You know where they stand. I like sometimes, you know, when you can kind of understand where people may come out and vote, but yet be surprised once in a while how they vote on certain things as well. So, and be able to voice their opinion when they make a vote and stand behind it. Again, being unscathed in politics nowadays is almost impossible. So again, I don't have anything negative to say. I also don't have anything extremely positive to say.
Right.
So which again, I don't think that's a bad thing.
But here's another game changer for me, and I just noticed this. He's got a website.
Uh-oh.
He's got a Facebook page.
There you go.
He's got an Instagram listed. You can find out about Mr. Wagner and what he stands for. I think that's why we're here. We want to know what you're going to do for us.
Absolutely, and I agree with that. And I hate to say it, everything here, and this is, you know, can be created in a couple of hours with a little financial, if none, investment to create some of these things to get your word out. And if you can't put the effort in to get your word out, why should I put the effort in to vote or listen? So that's the message that you're sending. So I think a lot of these candidates, again, this was an interesting year. Hopefully they can fix that and fix it soon.
May I translate? May I be the angry translator?
Be my guest.
Candidates, if you make it hard for us to find you, it'll be hard for us to find you on the ballot.
I like that.
I like that.
There we go.
I like that.
There we go. Next candidate, Mr. Sterling Sanders. Now, did Sterling Sanders run last time as the Green Party?
Yes.
Yeah.
Jim, I saw your face. I'm going to come to you first.
Yeah, so I really want to like him. He's a good guy. I know him personally. I put him in the troll category.
He does troll the county commissioners.
He does. And, you know, it just drives me crazy when these newbies decide they're going to run for something and all of a sudden they have an opinion on everything that's opposite to what anybody else is saying. There's somebody that's running for a state race who has a similar issue. And whether I like him personally or whether I like her personally on the state side, I'm not into the trolling, and you're not going to win my heart and mind by doing that.
At least like he's consistent. Again, right? He's been engaged in politics and been on the fray of it for a number of years. Yes.
Yeah.
So
he is the young version of Ron Bowers.
That's a good way of putting it.
Because he lives it outside. He has been interested in this well before he ever decided to run for office. Some of these folks, I think they woke up one morning and said, what am I going to do? I think I'll register for a county commissioner.
Or someone came and says, maybe you should run.
Exactly.
And again, I think he's had hopes for sitting in a seat for a while. Again, I think back to the troll thing, I think not all the time it's trolling. I think sometimes it's about voicing your opinion. And if you don't agree with everything the elected officials are saying, absolutely, if you're not just going to vote, go out there and run yourself, right? So I'm all for that. But it's also how you present it, right?
Well, and it's also, I think, a prerequisite for a successful candidate. If you are the county commissioner and I disagree with you, I should find out why you voted or think the way you do before I just go out, because a lot of times some of these people, and not necessarily Mr. Sanders, but some of these people will put out these opinions that turn out to be dead wrong.
Absolutely. And
then
there's no
you look
accountability
really
for coming
foolish.
back either,
Right.
right?
Right.
Coming back and say, I was wrong.
Right.
That rarely happens.
I got nothing on that one. Our last candidate is Mr. Dave Williams, retired school library media specialist, Washington County. Democrat from Smithsburg, spent over 40 years in our public school system. I'm wondering why he's not running for Board of Ed.
Because you want to control the money.
There we go.
You want to control the money.
Take it away. Take it away, Terrence.
No, I don't know too much about this candidate as well, but it's good to see someone else in the education system. I believe is Kiefer's in education as well. Was he in education?
I don't know.
I know he was in real estate, but it's good to see candidates that are in education, that participate in education, because right now education is in dire need of good leadership, even here in Washington County as we go through a transition, because we're also losing our superintendent as well. And again, I don't know this candidate, so I just know based on the resume, and something that all candidates should probably consider is a focus on education when they start speaking to things this year as well, because our kids are in dire need. Our educators are up against the wall. Our administrators in education are up against the wall, and some leadership from our county level and just state, federal level as a whole is necessary.
Well, for me, just simply spending 40 years doing something, retiring from that, and still saying, well, I would like to serve my community. That's pretty impressive to me.
It is. My only concern, and Dave does have, Mr. Williams does have a webpage.
He has a website. Here we go.
There's a fair amount of information on it, and I liked what he said in some of it. My concern about Mr. Williams is that he talks about the fact that there are many major issues that don't get addressed in a meaningful fashion. He talks about the fact that one of the things he brings as a former librarian is the fact that he wants to gather information before he presents opinion. I'm all about that. We talked about that tonight. But then he goes into what he calls the longer answer, which is, and it goes straight to education, and the education system is not good, and here are all the problems with it. And that may or may not be true, but to say that money buys good education, I think that has been proven to be wrong time and time again all over this country. I think, and number one. Number two, I don't think our education system in Washington County is terrible. In fact, I think specifically under Boyd Michael, we have made a lot of progress. So I'm concerned that he's going to be a one-trick pony. And I think there's a lot, education is a critical part of this county, but I think there are many critical parts.
Well, that was kind of why I said, why not run for school board?
Because
he can't control the money.
Money,
and that's specifically in there.
Money does buy good education. I'll tell you that right now, because it's about having safe, secure places to learn as well. It's how you spend the money may be impacted around the country in education. But money is necessary.
It is necessary.
Funding is absolutely. You can see the schools that get the larger funding where kids can have food insecurities and safer place to learn. And those are politics, right? And that's perception. So I think those are the conversations you want to have. And I know that the school system have to come up against the county for funds at time. So I just think having that background is great. But again, I don't know that. We're making assumptions because I haven't heard that from the candidates.
Right.
I challenge every one of the candidates. Sit down in front of your camera today, on your phone. We all have them all over our phones and our iPads and our computers. Take 3 minutes and talk to the people. Tell us what you plan to do. Don't just read us all the issues and make us aware of things we already know. Tell us the issue and tell us what you plan to do about it. And let us make a decision from there.
And tag Jim Miller and the FlipSide in your post so that we can see it.
So, but here's another thing, and I just found this on his website. He puts up on his website his top issues: public schools, public safety, public services. which are broad issues, but I'm liking this guy more the more I read about him.
See, there you go.
Sounds like he should be in government, though, right?
Yeah, I want to learn more about Mr. Williams. I've just decided that.
All right. Well, we have kind of dusted through.
So let's take a break.
All 17 of our candidates. So we'll hold here, and then we'll move on to another race. How about that, Jim?
All right.
All right. Stay with us. We'll have more in regards to our local elections after the break. Welcome back. We're going to have a short segment here and talking just briefly, gentlemen, about the importance of voting. Terrence, I know this is something that you're very passionate about, so the floor is yours, sir.
I think we all should be passionate about it, right? I think it's the one thing that we're all equal in, right? We get one vote, right? And we get that opportunity to exercise that vote. So I think we just need to have a great deal of value about it. That's why we're doing this show right now, right? Because we're actually helping people, even ourselves, educate ourselves so we can exercise our vote to the best of our ability. So I just want to, first of all, you can't vote unless you're registered to vote. So take this opportunity to go out now, get registered, go online, help somebody else get registered. But in each one of these candidates we talk about as well, they should be doing exactly that. The first priority should be making sure that every constituent, every citizen is out here is registered to vote, and then tell them how to use it.
The best case scenario for me out of the show is the following. Somebody is either going to stand up and say, I disagree with that Miller guy 100%, and I'm going to go do my research, and I'm going to vote my conscience, and I'm going to vote for the best guy or best lady or best person that I think can do the job. Or they see that if you're a candidate and you don't have anything up, you can't expect people to have any meaningful information, whether or not you could be the best county commissioner ever to serve in Washington County. People aren't going to be able to make that decision. And given the fact, especially in the primaries, I mean, we have, 10 people running for the Republican on the county commissioner side. They can only take 5, so that's a tight race. 5 of those people are not going to survive. If you think you're...
And 4 are incumbents.
Right, right. So, they better get their information out because the elections at this point are less than a month away or just over a month away. They're coming quickly. The other thing, we've taken time to research these candidates. There's information out there on the ones that have information. It's easy to find. Go to the Washington County Board of Elections website. We're going to have, for the last couple of cycles, we've had the Washington County Board of Elections, a representative on the show. We're going to do that again. But in the meantime, go do your homework. This is important stuff. They spend a lot of your money every year.
Yeah. I think the thing that disappoints me in election cycles is the tribal mentality of my guy has an R or a D, and that's who I'm voting for regardless, without really examining the resume of the individual.
Right.
Looking at what they're saying. I would like to see candidates that have had community involvement before they ever decided to run. I don't want to see my candidates just popping up all over the place, showing up in the black community, taking pictures with this person and that person because you're running now.
Right.
I want to be able to look back in the Herald Mail 3 or 4 years ago when you were serving then. I want to see that you are about what you say about, and it's a part of your daily living. And a lot of times we don't see that, especially this time of year. So, I think the thing is that being involved in the community, the proximity that I am to kind of seeing how the sausage is made in politics is disgusting. It's ugly. I just want to see genuine people that want to do their genuine best for the community. Because look at how our economy is teetering right now. We have some issues that have to be resolved, and I just hope that we have the best slate of candidates that get elected that can do the best to kind of steer us through that. Because we have a lot of opportunity in our community as well. So we'll leave it there. We'll pick up some of the other races next week. and keep on moving through the candidates to keep our community informed. So, well, that's all the time that we have for tonight. We hope that you'll like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and send us your comments to feedback@theflipsidetv.com. That's feedback@theflipsidetv.com. But most importantly, join us again next week for another episode of The Flip Side.